The story of Skyrim is built not only on dragons soaring across frozen skies, but also on secrets scattered like whispers throughout the land. Behind the mead halls, the snowy peaks, and the epic quests, there are hidden curiosities that make the province feel deeper than the main storyline ever reveals. These obscure details turn Skyrim into a living world filled with myth, humor, and mystery. At the very top of Tamriel, on the throat of the world, lies an object that doesn't quite belong to the lore. The notched pickaxe, a seemingly enchanted tool, carries a name that exists outside of Skyrim's universe. It is a reference to Marcus Notch Persson, the creator of Minecraft. By placing it on the highest point in the game, Bethesda broke the fourth wall in the most sacred location, reminding players that even in a world of gods and dragons, there's space for playful nods to reality. In contrast, some secrets became cultural landmarks almost by accident. The now legendary guard line, "I used to be an adventurer like you, then I took an arrow in the knee," began as a simple repeated voice line. But it exploded into one of gaming's most enduring memes, spreading across the internet far beyond Skyrim itself. What was once a minor detail in dialogue became part of the game's mythos, showing how tiny touches can define cultural memory. Not every secret is humorous, though. Some are haunting. Wander the roads at night, and you may encounter the Headless Horseman, riding silently through the dark. He doesn't attack, doesn't speak, doesn't trigger a quest. He simply rides into the distance. His presence is a reminder that Skyrim's world is older than the Dragonborn's journey, filled with legends that have no resolution. Other curiosities emerged from technical accidents. The infamous moment when a giant sends the Dragonborn flying hundreds of feet into the sky was originally a bug in the Havok physics engine. Instead of fixing it, Bethesda left it in because it felt almost mythic. Being struck down by a giant wasn't just deadly, it was an experience so absurd it became a kind of folklore within the game. Beneath the surface, Skyrim's Radiant story system was equally revolutionary. Often dismissed as a generator for repetitive side quests, it was designed to make the world remember. Quests could change based on where you had been, who you had spoken to, and which choices you made. Even when players didn't notice, the system subtly wove their decisions into the fabric of the world, creating a sense of continuity that was groundbreaking for its time. Even the map itself hides design secrets. Players often think Skyrim is larger than Oblivion in raw size. In reality, its landmass is similar. The illusion of scale comes from verticality. Vast mountains, deep valleys, and sprawling dungeons like Blackreach fold the province inward, creating the feeling of infinite space. Skyrim feels massive not because of surface area, but because it constantly pulls players upward and downward into new layers. Finally, Skyrim's voice acting deserves recognition. With more than 60,000 recorded lines and over 70 actors, it was one of the most ambitious projects of its time. Among them was Max von Sydow, the legendary actor who gave voice to Esbern, the wise but weary blade. His performance brought ancient gravitas to the prophecy of dragons, turning dialogue into living myth. From memes born of repetition to bugs turned into folklore, from vertical landscapes to whispered legends, these first secrets reveal Skyrim as more than code. They show a world where accidents, humor, and hidden design choices combine to create a myth that still endures. Skyrim's beauty lies not only in its epic quests and towering dragons, but in the small hidden stories scattered across its vast landscape. These are the moments most players miss unless they wander off the beaten path, lingering in forgotten caves or quiet ruins. Together, they create a second layer of Skyrim, a world of tragedies, mysteries, and secrets that exist whether the Dragonborn notices them or not. One such secret is grim, yet comical. In a remote cave, a skeleton lies in a makeshift bathtub, clutching a tankard, as if it had simply decided to drink itself to death in solitude. There's no quest marker, no journal, no explanation. It is dark humor in environmental storytelling, a developer's wink reminding players that not every tale in Skyrim is heroic. More disturbing is the tragedy of Frostflow Lighthouse. From the outside, it's just another landmark along the frozen northern coast. But inside, scattered journals reveal the fate of a family slaughtered by Shorus. No quest leads you here, no NPC warns you of danger. The story unfolds only if you read the bloodstained notes and realize you've walked into a horror tale where where the happy ending never came. Skyrim also fills its nights with spectral mysteries. Wander the tundra beneath the moons, and you may encounter the Headless Horseman, a ghostly rider who passes silently by. He offers no words, no quest, and no reward. He simply exists, a ghost of an older story untold. His presence whispers that Skyrim's past is still alive, echoing through the land without ever needing resolution. Some secrets hide in expansions. In Dawnguard, the bleak soul cairn contains a challenge many players never find. Collecting 3 soul fragments summons the Reaper, an entity built of bones and shadow, waiting in silence. It has no place in the main plot, no connection to prophecy. It is simply there, a hidden horror that exists for those who dare to dig too deep. Not all rewards in Skyrim are about gold or weapons. The Dragon Priest masks, for instance, are legendary artifacts tied to long-forgotten rulers. On their own, they're powerful gear, but if you gather all 8 and place them on an altar hidden within Labyrinthian, you receive Kanarik, the Supreme Mask. This secret turns what looks like a series of unrelated collectibles into a ritual of resurrection, binding the player into an ancient order that most citizens of Skyrim don't even remember. Then there is Blackreach, one of Skyrim's most breathtaking and unsettling locations. Beneath its glowing mushrooms and dwarven ruins lies a secret many miss entirely, a massive glowing orb hanging from the cavern ceiling. Shout at it with the Thuum, and a dragon named Volthuriel bursts from the darkness. This fight exists entirely outside the main game story, a hidden encounter locked behind curiosity. Even the plants of Blackreach carry secrets. The crimson nirnroot hums with a low, unsettling tone. It is tied to a side quest, but the sound itself lingers in the player's mind. Unlike the common nirnroot found on the surface, this crimson variant feels corrupted, as if the underground world is rewriting nature into something alien. Finally, Skyrim hides cinematic duels in the unlikeliest of places. South of Hilgrun's tomb, a fallen tree bridges a ravine. Atop it stands a lone bandit archer, waiting for travelers reckless enough to cross. It is not a boss fight, not even a quest. But the moment feels staged like a scene in a film, a solitary battle on a precarious bridge, left there for no reason other than to create an unforgettable memory. Together, these obscure moments, the skeleton in the tub, the family at Frostflow, the ghostly rider, the hidden dragon, reveal Skyrim's true magic. Its world is alive with stories that exist whether or not you discover them. It's a reminder that sometimes the greatest adventures are not scripted by quests, but whispered in the shadows of a land that never stops keeping secrets. The surface of Skyrim tells one story, but its depths reveal another. In caves, ruins, and forgotten corners, players stumble across unsettling details that turn the province into a land of quiet horror. These secrets rarely connect to quests or characters, but they echo with meaning, showing the darker side of Tamriel's history. The most disturbing are the Falmer, the blind creatures that haunt the deepest ruins. Many players know they are descended from the once proud snow elves, but few stop to notice the grotesque detail of their design. Look closely, and you'll see stitched lips sewn shut as if silencing their voices forever. It's a haunting reflection of their betrayal. A race forced underground by the Nords, then poisoned and enslaved by the Dwemer. Every encounter with the Falmer is not just a fight, but a tragedy made flesh. Their presence is often marked by ritual circles of candles, scattered across caves with no explanation. These eerie symbols don't trigger quests, nor do they yield unique rewards. They simply exist, suggesting that the Falmer or their prey once carried rituals and beliefs into the dark, only for them to wither into obscurity. Danger doesn't always come from enemies. In certain icy caverns, stalactites hang overhead like silent weapons. If struck by an arrow or spell, they break loose and crash down, crushing anything below. Many players never realize this mechanic exists, walking past it countless times. But for those who experiment, the environment itself becomes a weapon, proof that even the geology of Skyrim can turn hostile. Other horrors appear in subtle forms. In necromancer hideouts, you may find skeevers locked in cages, placed on altars as if they were sacrifices or subjects of twisted experiments. the game never clarifies whether these creatures were used for rituals or torture. Their presence alone tells a story of cruelty, small lives caught up in dark practices that the player uncovers only by paying attention. The Chorus, the insect-like beasts bred by Falmer, add another layer of dread. In some layers, their pulsating cocoons contain human corpses, partially dissolved or trapped inside. Diaries scattered nearby describe travelers who were captured and slowly consumed. It's a reminder that Skyrim's danger isn't limited to swords and dragons. Even the wildlife preys on humanity in ways too horrifying to be heroic. Not every secret is grand. On the northern coast lies the body of an Argonian named Ilas Te, who carries a unique but useless ring. There's no quest, no dialogue, no lore explaining his fate. He is simply there, a nameless casualty with an object that seems to mock the player's curiosity. Whether it was an inside joke from the developers or an unsolved riddle, Ilas Te stands as one of Skyrim's quietest mysteries. Even sacred sites carry their own secrets. On the peak of the throat of the world, players can find offerings, potions, weapons, jewels, scattered in the snow. No NPC explains them. They're not tied to quests. They're just left behind, tokens of worship from nameless travelers who climbed to Skyrim's highest altar. It's a powerful reminder that even beyond the Dragonborn, ordinary people see the mountain as holy. And then, in a sudden shift from dread to comedy, players may stumble upon bears bathing in a hot spring, lounging peacefully as if the province's dangers don't exist. It's a bizarre, almost cartoonish scene hidden in the wilderness. These moments of levity balance the game's darker secrets, showing that not all mysteries are grim. Some are simply placed to make the player smile, from stitched lips to ritual circles, from corpses in cocoons to bears at play. Skyrim's hidden world is one of extremes. These details are easy to miss, but together they transform the province into something unforgettable, a place where horror, tragedy, and humor coexist under the same snowy sky. Skyrim's surface is vast, but its true character is revealed in the small encounters hidden far from the main quest. Some are spectral, others tragic, and a few are playful curiosities that blur the line between myth and joke. The province is littered with these moments, turning exploration into a treasure hunt for stories that don't need dialogue or exposition to leave an impression. One of the strangest and most atmospheric of these is the tale of the ghostly violinist. In certain graveyards, on stormy nights, players have reported hearing spectral music, the sound of a bowed string carried by the wind. No quest is attached, no ghostly figure lingers to explain, yet the haunting melody feels intentional, as if the land itself is remembering the dead through sound. Whether it was a subtle ambient detail coded by the developers or a trick of imagination amplified by weather effects, it has become one of Skyrim's whispered legends. Other encounters are more tactile. Hidden in a Dwemer ruin, players may stumble across a crown made of bones, resting on a throne-like chair. There's no inscription, no lore entry, nothing to tell you who sat there. The scene is pure visual storytelling, a reminder that forgotten rulers and cultists once claimed dominion in Skyrim's depths. These skeletal arrangements transform lifeless dungeons into shrines of memory. On the coast and riverbanks, exploration often reveals dead fishermen, their journals scattered nearby. These aren't nameless corpses. Their notes describe hopes of a big catch, fears of monsters, or desperate last stands against bandits. Reading them transforms a random corpse into a full human tragedy, turning loot into epitaphs. They are reminders that Skyrim's waters are as cruel as its mountains. Sometimes secrets take the form of intimacy. In a cave near the rift, players can discover paired amulets of Mara resting on two bodies lying side by side. No one tells their story, but the implication is clear. Two lovers met their end together. It is a quiet, romantic tragedy tucked away from the chaos of dragons and war. These details deepen the sense that Skyrim is not just a province of warriors, but of people whose private stories rarely reach the bards. Prisons, too, reveal fragments of unseen lives. In dungeons across the province, cells hold skeletons clutching diaries, pages filled with confessions, regrets, or failed escape plans. Unlike scripted quests, these notes don't direct the player anywhere. They exist purely to give weight to the nameless. The bones behind the bars are not just set dressing. They are characters whose stories ended in despair, waiting centuries for someone to notice. Religion and politics leave their mark in darker ways. Scattered in remote caves are shrines of Talos surrounded by corpses, as if cultists were slaughtered mid-worship. Given the Empire's ban on Talos worship, these altars become political statements left in blood. They show that faith in Skyrim is not just personal, but dangerous, and that the civil war runs deeper than banners and speeches. Then there are details tied to environmental design. In places where skeevers are trapped in cages, their twitching bodies sit on ritual platforms, suggesting experiments too small or cruel to be part of quests. They're minor enemies elsewhere, yet here they become symbols of twisted science. Nearby, chorus cocoons pulse with half-dissolved humans inside, combining insect horror with environmental storytelling. These grotesque images remind players that survival in Skyrim means more than battling soldiers or dragons. Nature itself can be crueler than any empire. Even exploration of mountains can lead to cinematic staging. South of Hilgrun's tomb, that fallen tree spanning a ravine creates a bridge where a single archer waits. It's not scripted as a boss fight, nor does it connect to a named quest. Yet the setting feels deliberate, a duel staged by the developers as if they wanted to gift one cinematic moment to players who dared to wander off the road. All these small discoveries, the violin that may or may not exist, the crown of bones, the fisherman's journal, the lover's amulets, the shrine of Talos painted in blood, add layers of texture to Skyrim. They prove that its world is not just built for heroes or villains, but for the forgotten, the silent, and the unlucky. For players who explore beyond the quest markers, these details transform the map into a living archive of stories, where every cave and corner carries echoes of lives that once mattered. Skyrim, after all, isn't just a province of dragons and prophecies. It's a graveyard, a playground, and a shrine to the ordinary lives that disappear under snow and stone. The player may be the Dragonborn, but these hidden fragments remind us that the land is larger than one legend. The true myth of Skyrim is written in its secrets. Skyrim's world thrives on grand myths, yet its most enduring power lies in the quiet mysteries buried beneath the snow. Every ruin, every cave, every forgotten body tells a story, and many of them never find their way into quests or dialogue. These obscure details are not meant to be completed or solved. They exist simply to deepen the feeling that Skyrim is a land layered with centuries of lives, tragedies, and secrets. One of the most fascinating examples lies in Blackreach, the vast subterranean world beneath the mountains. While most players arrive here chasing the Elder Scroll, only the curious will notice the glowing orb suspended from the cavern ceiling. If struck with the Dragonborn's Thuum, the orb awakens a hidden dragon named Volthuriel, who descends with a roar that shakes the cavern. This fight is not announced, not tied to quests, and not even hinted at in dialogue. It exists as pure discovery, rewarding only those who experiment with their surroundings. Blackreach itself is already alien, but this hidden dragon encounter transforms it into something mythic, a place where even the Earth's heart beats with secrets. The cavern hides another peculiarity, the crimson nirnroot. Unlike its surface cousin, this rare plant emits a haunting hum, and a quest sends players to collect samples for research. Yet even beyond the quest, the plant feels like a living anomaly, glowing with an unnatural light as if corrupted by the underground ecosystem. The fact that Nirnroot already has a strange history across Elder Scrolls lore makes the Crimson variant feel like a forbidden evolution, a reminder that Skyrim's mysteries are rooted in Tamriel's oldest myths. But not all secrets are wondrous, some are grim. In Frostflow Lighthouse, tragedy takes on a different form. Inside the structure, journals scattered across blood-stained floors tell of a family torn apart by a Chorus attack. What makes this story striking is that it is completely optional. There's no quest marker leading here, no NPC urging investigation. The horror unfolds only for those who take the time to read. transforming an ordinary dungeon into a piece of Gothic storytelling. It is one of the clearest examples of Bethesda's environmental narrative design, stories told not through dialogue but through spaces. Elsewhere, environmental storytelling turns to dark humor. Hidden in a cave is the skeleton of a man resting in what looks like a makeshift bathtub, still clutching his tankard. No notes, no lore, no history accompanies him. Perhaps he drank himself to death. Perhaps he never intended to emerge. The developers leave the interpretation open, and what might first seem like a joke becomes, in its own way, a quiet tragedy. The wilderness also carries moments of sheer strangeness. Wander through the hot springs of Eastmarch, and you may encounter bears bathing peacefully in the steaming water. They don't attack unless disturbed. For a brief moment, Skyrim's harsh wilderness transforms into something gentle, reminding players that even predators seek warmth and rest. The scene feels almost whimsical, a break from the grim tone of most discoveries. The Headless Horseman continues this pattern of atmospheric mystery. Appearing at night, he rides silently across the tundra, disappearing into the dark. He cannot be spoken to, and he never triggers a quest. He is simply a ghost, an echo of battles long past. Many players follow him, hoping to find meaning in his path, but the game never provides an answer. His silence is the story, a ghost haunting not a dungeon, but the very roads the player walks. In other corners, secrets blend with cruelty. Caged skeevers appear in necromancer lairs, twitching as if part of experiments too minor to earn quests. They are not bosses or objectives, only props of suffering. Their presence suggests that in Skyrim, evil is not just grand battles with dragons or Daedra. It is also small acts of torture hidden away from the larger narrative. Finally, Skyrim's vertical landscapes create cinematic encounters. South of Hilgrun's tomb, a fallen tree forms a bridge across a ravine. Standing upon it is a lone archer, waiting for any who dare to cross. It's not a scripted fight, not tied to loot or legend, but the encounter feels staged, like a scene from a film. The duel on the fallen tree becomes a private story, a memory crafted not by quests, but by placement and imagination. These 8 curiosities, the hidden dragon, the crimson plants, the family's journals, the skeleton in his tub, the bathing bears, the silent horseman, the twitching skeevers, and the lone archer, show the breadth of Skyrim's design. Some are whimsical, others tragic, others horrifying, but all share one purpose: to remind the player that the land is alive with stories far beyond the Dragonborn. Skyrim is not a stage set for one hero. It is a world of echoes, where lives have been lived and lost long before your arrival, and where secrets wait patiently for anyone willing to look. Every player enters Skyrim expecting dragons, civil wars, and ancient tombs. What they often don't expect are the stories that unfold in silence. No quest markers, no dialogue trees, only fragments of memory scattered across the land. These hidden details blur the line between myth, tragedy, and design, making the world feel older and more complex than the Dragonborn story alone. Take the chilling encounter in Frostmere Crypt. At first glance, it seems like another Nordic ruin filled with Draugr, but hidden journals and dialogue reveal that a group of bandits, driven by paranoia, turned on their own leader. Their descent into madness wasn't caused by greed or hunger, but by whispers from a cursed artifact buried within the crypt. By the time the Dragonborn arrives, the bandits are already fractured and doomed, their betrayal echoing the ruins' haunted history. It's a story most players miss unless they read carefully, but it transforms a routine dungeon crawl into a meditation on corruption and obsession. A similar tale unfolds in Lost Prospect Mine, where the skeletal remains of a miner sit beside a journal describing failed attempts to find gold. Scattered pickaxes, overturned carts, and empty tunnels tell the rest of the story. The man wasted away chasing treasure that was never there. His death becomes a quiet warning about greed, tucked into a mine that many players walk past without a second glance. Skyrim's tragedies aren't always ancient. In Bleak Coast Cave, players may stumble upon the frozen corpse of a frost Atronach surrounded by dead bandits. What makes this encounter obscure is the implication. The Atronach wasn't placed there by the developers as a monster encounter. Instead, it seems to have turned against its summoners, killing them before succumbing to the cold. No dialogue confirms this, but the scene suggests the dangers of magic spiraling beyond control. It's a cautionary tale delivered through corpses and ice. Some secrets lean into horror. The abandoned prison east of Helgen contains cells filled with skeletons still bound in shackles. Journals hint at political prisoners held here before being forgotten. No quest brings players to this ruin. It exists purely as atmosphere. Yet its silence speaks volumes, suggesting that Skyrim's dangers are not only dragons and Daedra, but also the cruelty of men who let others rot in darkness. The land also remembers its heroes. In Ysgrimmor's tomb, beyond the quest line with the companions, the walls are lined with sarcophagi and offerings from Nords who continue to honor their ancient forebear. One obscure detail: the carvings on some of the walls depict not just Ysgrimmor's victories, but also his people's suffering during their flight from Atmora. The tomb isn't only about conquest, it is about survival, sacrifice, and exile. Players who pause to study the engravings see a side of Nord history that is more fragile than the heroic songs suggest. Even Skyrim's animals carry hidden stories. North of Winterhold, a skeletal horse lies frozen in the ice, its rider nowhere to be seen. It is not part of any quest, and it drops no unique loot. Its placement is ambiguous. Was this a messenger lost in a blizzard, a traveler who never reached his destination? The unanswered question lingers in the snow, making the scene more haunting than any scripted battle. In Hobbs Fall Cave, necromancers conduct rituals around corpses arranged in disturbing positions. Scattered books reveal their obsession with reanimation. Yet one small, obscure touch stands out. Among their spell tomes, there is sometimes a child's toy, as if the mages desecrated even the smallest relics of human life. These objects don't alter the quest, but they shift the tone, making necromancy not just dangerous, but profane. And then there is Shriekwind Bastion, a vampire den filled with shrines, traps, and winding tunnels. Hidden among the coffins is an altar dedicated to Molag Bal, the Daedric prince of domination. The game never explains who built it or why, but its placement suggests that the vampires see themselves not only as predators, but as worshippers of cruelty itself. For observant players, it connects Skyrim's monsters to the greater cosmology of Tamriel, where every evil act echoes the will of dark gods. These 8 hidden stories, the bandits whispering in Frostmere Crypt, the miner's wasted life in Lost Prospect Mine, the frozen Atronach in Bleak Coast Cave, the skeletal prisoners, the carvings in Ysgrimmor's tomb, the horse frozen in ice, the necromancer's desecrated toys, and the vampire altar to Molag Bal, remind us that Skyrim is more than quests and rewards. It is a graveyard of forgotten lives, a cathedral of tragedies too small for history but too powerful to be erased. When players stumble upon them, whether by accident or by curiosity, they realize the true design of Skyrim, not just to tell one hero's tale, but to scatter 1,000 smaller ones across the snow, waiting for someone to notice. Skyrim's mountains, caves, and frozen tundras already give the impression of a harsh and unforgiving land. But it is in the details, the half-told stories hidden in ruins, the scattered corpses, the whispers of the past, that the province becomes truly alive. These secrets don't exist to hand out loot or experience points. They exist to remind players that Skyrim is an old, scarred land, one whose tragedies echo long before the Dragonborn arrives. One of the most striking examples is the Pale Lady quest at Frostmere Crypt. Players who investigate find a cursed sword tied to an ancient spirit, the Pale Lady herself, wandering the crypt. Most take this as just another quest with branching choices. Return the sword to lay the spirit to rest, or keep it for yourself. Yet hidden in journals scattered throughout the crypt is the story of betrayal among the bandits who stumbled on the blade before you. Driven mad by whispers and greed, they murdered each other in paranoia. The Pale Lady's curse wasn't just a ghost story, it was the hand that fractured a group of mortals into ruin. It shows that Skyrim's myths aren't just legends of gods and dragons, they bleed into the daily lives of the desperate. Far to the west lies Chillwind Depths, a cave filled with Chorus and Falmer. Many players fight through its twisting tunnels without pausing to notice the arrangement of corpses, adventurers, hunters, and even a scholar, each laid out as if experiments had been performed on them. The journals confirm this suspicion, describing how Falmer tested poisons and fungi on their captives. It is easy to see Falmer as just another enemy type, blind monsters swinging blades in the dark. But here their cruelty takes on a scientific horror, suggesting that their downfall did not erase their intellect, it twisted it into something even more terrifying. In the Rift, Autumnshade Clearing offers a rare moment of beauty, tainted by violence. It is a glade where animals gather peacefully, deer, foxes, even saber cats wandering without hostility. But upon closer inspection, a circle of hunters lies dead at its edge, their bows broken, their bodies marked by claw wounds. The implication is subtle but chilling. They stumbled upon the clearing and tried to exploit it, only to be torn apart. The glade itself becomes a sacred space, protected not by gods but by the raw balance of nature. Skyrim's wilderness, it seems, is not passive backdrop, it defends itself. Then there is Blood on the Ice, the murder mystery in Windhelm. Most players know it as a buggy quest that sends them chasing a serial killer through the city's snowy alleys. But hidden beneath its technical flaws is an atmospheric story worth examining. The victims are all women from the Grey Quarter, marginalized Dwemer in a city already divided by prejudice. The killer's lair, hidden in Hyerim, contains surgical tools and fragments of necromantic research. He isn't killing at random, he is harvesting. The quest quietly ties into themes of xenophobia and exploitation, showing how even Skyrim's urban centers are scarred by cruelty that festers in the shadows. South of Whiterun, the plains reveal a different kind of secret. Scattered across the tundra are the skeletal remains of giants who clearly didn't fall to player swords. Some lie near mammoths, others beside burned earth as if struck by dragonfire. These corpses tell silent stories of battles the Dragonborn never witnessed. Giants and dragons fought long before you arrived, their bones littering the land as evidence of ancient rivalries. It is a reminder that the world is alive independent of your presence. Skyrim does not exist to wait for you. It carries on its own wars whether or not you interfere. The Forgotten Vale, introduced in Dawnguard, contains its own mysteries. Among them is the appearance of rare snow elves who have not been twisted into Falmer. Meeting them is shocking, as it proves that not every member of their race succumbed to betrayal and blindness. They speak with grace and sorrow, offering insight into their people's downfall. These encounters transform the Falmer from faceless enemies into a tragic people, showing what they might have been if history had been kinder. Few players explore the Vale fully enough to meet them, but those who do glimpse a layer of Elder Scrolls lore that stretches back thousands of years. In Skyrim, even minor caves carry hidden weight. In Ragnvald, deep within the mountains, players find the dragon priest Otar entombed. To release him, 2 skull keys must be collected, and inscriptions nearby hint at the desperation of his followers. What makes this obscure is not just the boss fight, but the lore. Otar was once a ruler who fell to madness, believing himself a god. His worshippers chained him even in death, ensuring his spirit could not roam free. The dungeon becomes not just a combat challenge, but a parable of tyranny, faith, and the fear of letting a mad leader linger too long. Finally, various unmarked cairns and barrows dot the wilderness, holding nothing more than a single skeleton and an offering of coins, flowers, or mead. These sites don't appear on maps, nor are they tied to quests. They exist as memorials for people whose names we'll never know, built by developers to simulate the forgotten graves that would naturally litter a land as old and war-torn as Skyrim. They remind us that not every life in this province ends in glory. Most end quietly and anonymously. These 8 discoveries, the cursed Pale Lady, the cruel experiments of the Falmer, the defended glade of Autumnshade, the murders in Windhelm, the giant bones of the tundra, the surviving snow elves of the Vale, the mad priest Otar, and the anonymous cairns, reveal Skyrim as a tapestry of stories both cosmic and mundane. Dragons and Daedra may dominate the main plot, but the soul of Skyrim lies in its forgotten corners. To explore them is to realize that every ruin and every body has something to say, even if it never speaks. Skyrim is a land where legends are carved into stone and whispered on the wind, but its truest magic lies in the unspoken details, hidden between quests. The main story might guide players toward dragons and civil wars, but the province's character is revealed in forgotten shrines, quiet ruins, and eerie discoveries that exist without fanfare. These secrets transform Skyrim from a game into a living world, one that feels like it has existed for centuries before the Dragonborn ever set foot in Helgen. One of the strangest examples is found in Snapleg Cave, a location that at first seems like a typical bandit hideout. But deeper inside, the player finds scenes of ritual sacrifice, with corpses laid out on altars, candles circling them, and shackles scattered nearby. The cave doesn't belong to necromancers or vampires. It is inhabited by ordinary bandits, which makes the imagery even more unsettling. Why would mere criminals embrace ritual murder? The game never explains, leaving players to wonder if the bandits stumbled into darker practices or if the cave itself demanded it. It's one of those moments where the silence is scarier than any written lore. Another chilling discovery lies in Ilinalta's Deep, a sunken fortress partially swallowed by a lake. Inside, necromancers use drowned corpses as test subjects, reanimating them in shallow water. The architecture itself feels broken and drowned, with collapsed halls and flooded chambers, as if the ruin is slowly being erased by nature. Journals scattered through the fortress hint that its mages once sought to tame death itself, but ended up sinking both their home and their ambition. Few players realize that Ilinalta's Deep is tied in lore to one of Skyrim's most powerful magical artifacts, the Black Star, linking its horrors to Daedric influence. Even the wilderness carries fragments of history. Travel north of Whiterun and you may stumble upon giant mammoth rib cages half buried in the snow, towering bones that seem too large even for the creatures still roaming the tundra. Their presence suggests that Skyrim's giants once herded beasts far more massive than those alive today, ancient cousins lost to time. These skeletal monuments act as prehistoric fossils, storytelling without a single word. Some secrets are not rooted in history, but in mystery. In Bloated Man's Grotto, players might find a serene clearing bathed in sunlight, one of Skyrim's most beautiful and peaceful spots. Deer wander calmly, waterfalls glisten, and flowers cover the grass. Yet if the player begins the Daedric quest, ill met by moonlight, the grotto changes. The animals vanish, the light dims, and the peaceful grove becomes a hunting ground for Hircine, the Daedric prince of the hunt. This duality, a place that can be paradise or nightmare depending on story, makes Bloated Man's Grotto one of Skyrim's most unsettling hidden wonders. The Atronach Forge, hidden deep within the midden beneath the College of Winterhold, offers another curiosity. Here, players can craft strange items and even summon Atronachs using rare ingredients. The forge is never explained in depth, but obscure notes hint that it may be tied to older magical traditions, perhaps even predating the college itself. Unlike enchanting tables or alchemy labs, the forge feels like forbidden knowledge, a secret workshop for mages willing to bargain with forces beyond their control. Its existence beneath the college adds an unsettling irony. While the city above distrusts magic, the institution itself hides a chamber dedicated to dangerous experimentation. Not all secrets are terrifying. Some are simply odd. In the wilderness of Falkreath Hold, players might encounter a talking dog named Barbas. At first glance, it seems like comic relief, a loyal companion with a sharp tongue. But Barbas is actually the companion of Clavicus Vile, a Daedric prince, and his quest ties directly into the choice between mercy and betrayal. The obscure detail here is that if the player delays completing the quest, Barbas can follow indefinitely, acting as a permanent follower, immune to death. For those who notice, this transforms a quirky encounter into one of the most practical hidden rewards in the game. Elsewhere, in Kagrumes, one of Skyrim's Dwemer ruins, players stumble upon something that feels more like a puzzle game than a dungeon crawl. Collecting rare resonance gems allows access to increasingly difficult trials with mechanical enemies and shifting platforms. Unlike most ruins, which tell stories of ancient collapse, Kagrumes feels alive, as though the machines are still obeying orders millennia later. The obscurity comes from how easily this ruin can be missed, tucked away in Solstime's expansion content, holding one of the most unusual challenges in the game. Finally, there is the Lover's Tent, a small unmarked site found near the hot springs of Eastmarch. Inside, 2 bedrolls lie side by side, surrounded by wine bottles, food, and scattered jewelry. Nearby, however, two charred skeletons suggest that the lovers met their end in fire, perhaps by a dragon swooping overhead. It is a moment of romance and tragedy, a story told entirely through placement of objects. Most players pass it by without realizing it, but for those who stop to look, it's one of Skyrim's quietest, yet most human stories. These 8 discoveries, Snapleg's sacrifices, Ilinalta's drowned fortress, the mammoth fossils, Bloated Man's dual grotto, the Atronach forge, the sharp-tongued Barbas, the Dwemer trials of Kagrumes, and the Lover's Tent, reveal the spectrum of Skyrim's design. Some are terrifying, some practical, some beautiful, and some tragic. Together they remind us that Skyrim is not only a land of prophecy, but also a land of memories. For every dragon slain or quest completed, there are countless stories buried in the snow, waiting for someone to notice. Every hold in Skyrim is filled with hidden corners that whisper stories. Some of these tales unfold through journals and quests, but others exist only in placement. A skeleton here, a shrine there, a ruin half buried in snow. They rarely give rewards, yet they remain among the most memorable discoveries. Each one makes the land feel older, as though history itself is etched into the rocks and rivers. One such secret lies in Glenmoril Coven, a cave tied to the Companion's questline. Most players visit it only to collect the witches' heads, fulfilling Kodlak's last wish to cure lycanthropy. But if you wander deeper, you notice altars covered in skulls, bones arranged in ritual circles, and cauldrons still simmering long after their masters are dead. These details reveal that the Coven wasn't just a backdrop for the player's task, it was an active site of dark rituals, steeped in blood magic that lingers even in death. Another eerie location is Frostflow Lighthouse, already infamous for its tragic journals, but what many players miss is how the structure itself tells the story. The claw marks on the doors, the smashed furniture, the barricades hastily nailed in place. These are details of a family's desperate attempt to hold off the Chorus swarming in from below. The environment becomes a diary of panic. You don't just read about their end, you walk through the last moments of their lives. In Broken Ore Grotto, a massive cave overtaken by bandits, there is a peculiar sight, a small shrine to Talos hidden among the wreckage of ships and loot. Its presence is strange. Why would criminals devoted to plunder risk death by worshipping the outlawed god? No quest explains it, but the shrine suggests that even outlaws cling to faith, perhaps praying for strength against the empire that would execute them for their devotion. It's a small reminder that Skyrim's civil war isn't fought only on battlefields. It is fought in secret prayers whispered by those living outside the law. The Ratway in Riften is best known as the entrance to the Thieves' Guild, but its forgotten corners tell another story. Among the shadows and filth, skeletons sit slumped against walls, clutching empty bottles, as though the outcasts of Riften were left to die in the sewers. In one chamber, an Argonian's journal describes betrayal at the hands of smugglers, his words ending abruptly as though cut off by death. These details make the Ratway feel less like a dungeon and more like a graveyard of the desperate. The guild thrives above, but the forgotten rot below. Some secrets are almost playful in their horror. In Reachwater Rock, a puzzle-filled cavern that becomes the stage for the Galder Amulet quest, players find a pool of water that reflects a strange glow. At first, it seems like ordinary light, but if you watch closely, the glow shifts, almost pulsing with a rhythm. It is never explained. Some fans speculate it is tied to the amulet's power. Others believe it's just an atmospheric trick. Whatever the case, the glowing water transforms the cave into something uncanny, a place that feels alive even when empty. Elsewhere, on Skyrim's eastern edge, sits Stony Creek Cave, a seemingly small bandit hideout. Many rush through it for loot, but the shelves contain something unusual, the unusual gem that begins the Stones of Baranzaya quest. Placing such a valuable object in a minor cave seems almost like a joke from the developers, as though to reward those who never ignore the little places. It teaches players that every cave, no matter how small, may hold the start of something much larger. The Ancient's Ascent, a dragon lair high in the mountains, carries its own haunting touch. At the summit, after slaying the dragon, you find a word wall and the remains of dragon worshippers long since dead. Their offerings, weapons, food, and flowers are still present, rotting slowly. Unlike most lairs, which feel like combat arenas, Ancient's Ascent feels like a tomb, a place of mourning where the dead still honor their masters. The fact that no NPC ever sends you here makes the site feel even more sacred, as though you stumbled into a secret funeral meant for no mortal eyes. Finally, deep in Hamar's shame, a vampire den tied to the Daedric prince Clavicus Vile, you'll find altars drenched in blood and cages filled with bones. Yet hidden in one corner, almost unnoticeable, is a simple wooden toy, a child's doll, abandoned among corpses. Its presence is never explained. Was it left by one of the victims, carried to the grave as a final comfort? Or is it a symbol of the vampire's cruelty, taking even innocence and turning it into horror? That single doll tells a story as disturbing as any Daedric quest. These 8 discoveries, Glenmorrel's rituals, Frostflow's barricades, the bandit's shrine in Broken Ore, the forgotten dead of the Ratway, the glowing pool in Reachwater Rock, the gem hidden in Stony Creek, the funeral offerings at Ancient's Ascent, and the doll in Hamar's Shame, show how Skyrim speaks in whispers. Its greatest tales aren't always voiced by NPCs or carved into questlines. They are told by bones, candles, toys, and shadows. For players who slow down, Skyrim reveals not just a land of dragons and heroes, but a province of secrets, where even the smallest detail carries the weight of forgotten lives. Skyrim's power as a world lies not only in its quests or landscapes, but in its ability to place stories in silence. These are details built into the land itself, fragments of history and tragedy left for observant players to notice. The province is filled with small places where the environment speaks louder than dialogue, each one a piece of lore woven into the snow. In the frozen northern seas, the wreck of the Pride of Tel Vos lies broken on the ice. Its crew never made it to shore, and the ship's scattered cargo still litters the deck. The name of the vessel connects it to House Telvanni of Morrowind, a reminder of the far-reaching influence of Dwemer culture, even in the frozen north. The wreck holds no quest, no special loot, yet it is a monument to the dangers of the Sea of Ghosts and the lives lost in its storms. Not far inland, in the mountains near Winterhold, sits Sightless Pit, a collapsed Dwemer ruin. Falmer infest its depths, their camps built over ancient dwarven machinery. The ruin's design reflects a history of violence, as the snow elves driven underground transformed the Dwemer halls into their own territory. The name of the ruin describes it perfectly, for the Falmer that inhabit it are blind, and the pit itself is a descent into their forgotten world. The area functions as both dungeon and historical record, showing how conquest and betrayal shaped Skyrim's darkest race. Traveling south to Eastmarch, the Atronach Stone stands in the wilderness, one of the ancient standing stones of Tamriel. Its surface is carved with constellations, connecting Skyrim to the celestial traditions of the Elder Scrolls universe. Activating it grants the dragonborn powers tied to spell absorption, reflecting the Atronach birth sign described in earlier games. These standing stones are remnants of older magical traditions, relics of an age when the stars themselves were considered divine forces shaping mortal lives. The Lusty Argonian Maid, a book series scattered across Skyrim, appears at first as comic relief, but its presence reflects the depth of the game's world-building. The play is attributed to Crassius Curio, a character from Morrowind, tying Skyrim's humor to the larger Elder Scrolls timeline. Its distribution throughout the province shows how books and ideas travel across cultures. The series, absurd in tone, has become a part of Tamriel's literary tradition, illustrating that Skyrim is not only a land of war and myth, but also one with its own popular culture. In Rebel's Cairn, a crypt southwest of Whiterun, lies the final resting place of Red Eagle, a legendary warrior of the Reach. The cairn is tied to the quest, The Legend of Red Eagle, but even outside the story, the location tells its own history. Ancient inscriptions and the presence of Forsworn show the continuity between past and present, with Red Eagle revered as a hero by modern rebels. His story embodies the endurance of resistance in Skyrim, a land where rebellion is never truly silenced. On the northern coast, players may encounter the wreck of the Orphan's Tear, a ship grounded on the rocks. Bandits have made it their camp, with makeshift tents pitched among the wreckage. The name of the wreck suggests a tragic origin, reinforced by the fact that no crew remains alive. The ship stands as a symbol of loss and desperation, transformed from vessel into hideout, its original story buried beneath new violence. Hidden in the swamps of Hjalmarch is Movarth's lair, the den of a vampire lord tied to the quest laid to rest. Inside, rows of coffins and journals reveal the systematic nature of his predation. Movarth is not simply a monster but a strategist who has built a network of enthralled servants. The lair reflects centuries of hunting, with layers of evidence showing how deeply his influence runs through the region. The details within the cave demonstrate how vampirism in Skyrim is not random savagery but an organized threat. Finally, deep in the rift lies Avanchanzel, one of Skyrim's most atmospheric Dwemer ruins. The player enters carrying a lexicon, and as they move deeper, ghostly visions of a lost expedition appear, replaying their final moments. These echoes of the past walk alongside the Dragonborn, speaking words that cannot be heard until their deaths are reenacted at the heart of the ruin. The design of Avanchanzel blends gameplay and lore, allowing players to witness the collapse of explorers who came before, while uncovering the secrets of Dwemer engineering. These 8 discoveries, the wreck of the Pride of Telvos, the Falmer-infested Sightless Pit, the Atronach Stone, the scattered volumes of the lusty Argonian Maid, the cairn of Red Eagle, the wreck of the Orphan's Tear, the organized horrors of Movarth's lair, and the ghostly tragedy of Avanchanzel, form a tapestry of Skyrim's forgotten corners. Each tells a story without demanding the player's attention, rewarding only those who take the time to look. Together, they build the sense that Skyrim is not a stage waiting for the Dragonborn, but a land with its own pulse, its own scars, and its own memory. Skyrim's landscape is not only a place of grandeur, but a map of forgotten stories. Each ruin, cave, or unmarked site carries traces of history that extend the province's mythology beyond the main quest. The following details reveal more of these obscure layers, scattered across the wilds and beneath the earth. The ruin of Labyrinthian is one of the largest Nordic structures in Skyrim, tied directly to the College of Winterhold questline. Beyond its role in the search for the Staff of Magnus, the location contains ancient carvings and tombs that mark it as a place of trials for the dragon priests. Labyrinthian was once known as Bromjunar, a powerful city in the First Era, and its underground passages echo with the remnants of that era's magic. The presence of multiple dragon priest masks within its walls ties it to Skyrim's oldest traditions of power. Further west, in the forests of Falkreath Hold, the site known as Shriekwind Bastion serves as a vampire lair. Its twisting paths are lined with shrines and traps, and its upper chambers overlook the valleys below. What distinguishes this bastion is its architecture, with long corridors carved into the mountain and altars dedicated to Molag Bal. The presence of both vampires and Daedric worship links the site to ancient cult practices that still linger in the shadows of Skyrim. In the rift lies Forelhost, one of the most imposing dragon priest strongholds. It was once a fortress where the dragon cult made its last stand during the Dragon War. The skeletons scattered across its halls are not random. They represent the defenders who chose to die rather than surrender. Within its depths resides the dragon priest Ragot, whose mask carries enchantments tied to stamina, reflecting the endurance of his cult. The ruin stands as a preserved battlefield from a war fought thousands of years before the Dragonborn's arrival. North of Whiterun, Silent Moon's camp offers a smaller but equally mysterious detail. At night, the forge located within the camp gains a special enchantment, allowing weapons crafted there to deal lunar damage under the moonlight. This mechanic is never explained in dialogue, and the camp itself is occupied only by bandits. The presence of the lunar forge suggests that the Nords once experimented with celestial enchantments, a fragment of magical tradition left behind in an otherwise ordinary ruin. The Barrow of Volunruud, northeast of Whiterun, is tied to ancient assassins and warriors. Inside, inscriptions describe the tale of Kvenel the Tongue, a Nord hero buried with 2 powerful weapons. To access his tomb, players must collect ceremonial blades scattered in the ruin, a design that reflects the ritualistic nature of his burial. The barrow also connects to the Dark Brotherhood through lore, as ancient assassins once honored the Night Mother in these chambers. Volunruud stands as both a warrior's grave and a shrine of murder. On the coast of the Reach, the ruin of Deepfolk Crossing marks one of the smaller Dwemer sites in Skyrim. A bridge crosses a rushing river, and on the far side lies a Dwemer storage chest, often containing unique artifacts such as an Ethereum shard tied to Dawnguard's questline. Unlike larger ruins, Deepfolk Crossing is quiet and nearly empty, but its architecture serves as a reminder of the Dwemer's dominance in even the most remote corners of the land. The cave of Darklight Tower near the rift is one of the few ruins tied to living characters with a personal story. Here, a witch named Ilia can be recruited as a follower after she helps the player defeat her own mother, a sorceress corrupted by Daedric worship. The tower itself is filled with altars, summoned creatures, and signs of magical corruption. The story embedded in this location highlights the danger of unchecked sorcery, as well as the lingering influence of Daedric cults in Skyrim's wilderness. Finally, the ruin of Kilcreath Temple, west of Solitude, houses one of the most dramatic encounters in the game. This temple is dedicated to Meridia, the Daedric prince of life and energy, and becomes the stage for the quest, the Break of Dawn. Inside, beams of light must be guided through mirrors to cleanse the temple of necromancers. The temple's scale and design stand out among Skyrim's ruins, a direct reflection of Meridia's influence and her hatred of the undead. These 8 places, Labyrinthian, Shriekwind Bastion, Forelhost, Silent Moon's Camp, Volenrude, Deepfolk Crossing, Darklight Tower, and Kilcreath Temple, expand Skyrim's history beyond the central story. Each one is tied to older conflicts, forgotten cults, or Daedric powers, reinforcing the sense that every stone in Skyrim carries the memory of battles and beliefs long past. Skyrim's ruins, caves, and hidden corners reveal fragments of history that stretch back thousands of years. Many of these locations are not central to the main quest, but each carries weight through architecture, artifacts, and traces of lives long gone. Together they create a landscape where myth and memory are carved directly into stone. The ruin of Skuldefn, high in the Velothi Mountains, is among the most important dragon priest temples in Skyrim. It serves as the gateway to Sovngarde, accessible only during the final act of the main quest. What makes it remarkable beyond its role in the story is its inaccessibility. Skuldafn cannot be reached by normal exploration. It is locked behind the dragon Odahviing's flight. This restriction reinforces its sanctity, marking it as a place preserved for the climax of prophecy. The architecture, with massive courtyards and towering walls, embodies the grandeur of the ancient dragon cult. Its presence underscores how the dragon priests once ruled as kings. In the rift lies ancient Volkuhar Keep, home of the vampire clan that dominates the Dawnguard storyline. The keep stands on an island in the Sea of Ghosts, accessible through narrow caves that thread beneath the frozen water. Inside, banners and feasting halls reflect the pride of vampire nobility. The clan's history stretches back to the First Era, and their devotion to Molag Bal ties them to the very origins of vampirism. Volkuhar Keep is more than a dungeon. It is a living citadel, showing how Skyrim's monsters maintain societies as old as the Nords themselves. Another location filled with obscurity is Karthspire, a cavern fortress in the Reach. It serves as the entrance to Skyhaven Temple, the ancient headquarters of the Blades. Here lies the Alduin's Wall, a monumental carving that recounts the prophecy of the World Eater's defeat. The temple and its wall are more than backdrops. They represent the way Nords preserved their history through stone. The detail carved into the mural is extraordinary, depicting dragon priests, shouts, and the battle of mortals against dragons. Alduin's Wall bridges myth and gameplay, turning prophecy into something tangible. North of Winterhold, the ruin of Sarthal represents another layer of Skyrim's deep past. It was the first Nord city built after their migration from Atmora, and also the site of a massacre carried out by the Snow Elves. Beneath its stone halls, players discover the Eye of Magnus, an artifact of unknown origin. The ruins show signs of multiple occupations, with collapsed tunnels and rebuilt walls marking centuries of conflict. Sarthal is a reminder that Skyrim's foundations are built upon conquest and tragedy, and its secrets still shape the province's fate. The Forgotten Vale, hidden in the mountains and accessible only through the Dawnguard expansion, stands apart from the rest of Skyrim. Its sweeping glaciers, glowing waterfalls, and secluded temples reflect a landscape untouched by modern Nords. Within its valleys live the last uncorrupted snow elves, descendants who avoided the poisoning of their kin. Meeting them reveals the full weight of Falmer tragedy, contrasting what they once were with what they became. The vale is filled with shrines to Oriel, sacred rituals, and ruins preserved in ice, a frozen monument to a lost civilization. The ruin of Blackreach also embodies ancient secrets, but one detail stands out beyond its glowing mushrooms and Dwemer machines. Crimson nirnroot grows here, a plant distinct from the ordinary nirnroot found across Tamriel. Its red glow and low hum mark it as something altered by the underground ecosystem. Scholars in-game speculate on its origins, tying it to the alchemical experiments of the Dwemer. Its presence in Blackreach adds to the sense that the cavern is an alien world beneath the earth, filled with life forms shaped by conditions unknown on the surface. In Eastmarch, the volcanic tundra is dotted with ruins, and among them lies Mzulft, one of the great Dwemer cities. Its collapsed halls are part of the College of Winterhold questline, leading to the Oculory, a massive machine that manipulates starlight. The Oculory demonstrates the Dwemer's obsession with tonal architecture and their desire to pierce the mysteries of Aetherius. The design of the machine, with its moving lenses and shifting light beams, represents one of the most advanced technologies in Tamriel's history. Mzulft illustrates the Dwemer's pursuit of knowledge at all costs, a pursuit that ultimately led to their disappearance. Finally, the tomb of Ustengrav, located in Yalmarch, carries significance in both lore and gameplay. It is the site where the Dragonborn first seeks the horn of Jurgen Windcaller. The tomb's scale, with vast underground chambers and waterfalls cascading into caverns, reflects the reverence given to Jurgen, the founder of the Greybeards' philosophy. Ancient carvings within describe his decision to use the voice for worship rather than war, a choice that shaped the entire Nord relationship with the Thuum. The design of Ustengrav, with shifting gates and trials that test patience, mirrors the discipline required to follow his path. These 8 sites, Skuldafen, Volkihar Keep, Karthspire, Sarthal, the Forgotten Vale, Blackreach's Crimson Plants, Mzulft's Oculory, and Ustengrav, represent the breadth of Skyrim's hidden lore. Each location ties the present to the deep past, whether through prophecy, conquest, tragedy, or invention. Together, they demonstrate that Skyrim is not only a stage for the Dragonborn's journey, but also a province layered with millennia of history, preserved in stone, ice, and ruin. Skyrim's hidden details often blur the line between myth and memory. While the main questline guides players toward dragons and prophecy, many of the province's most remarkable stories are buried in ruins or whispered through artifacts that carry centuries of history. These places and objects expand the world beyond the Dragonborn's path, giving weight to the land itself. The Barrow of Highgate Ruins, located in the Pale, holds one of Skyrim's most atmospheric encounters. Within its depths sleeps the dragon priest, Vokun, whose name means shadow in the dragon tongue. The dungeon is notable not only for its scale, but also for its association with Anska, an NPC searching for her family's lost scroll. The scroll itself connects to older traditions of magical study, linking ordinary Nord families to Skyrim's mystical heritage. The presence of Vokun reinforces the idea that dragon priests were once rulers whose power extended deep into local communities. To the south lies Ragnvald, another dragon priest tomb, where Otar the Mad is imprisoned. The ruin is locked by 2 skull-shaped keys placed in distant chambers, symbolizing the followers' desperation to keep their master bound. Otar's history reveals him as a tyrant who declared himself divine, forcing his subjects into worship. The ruin thus becomes more than a place of combat. It is a memorial to the dangers of unchecked power preserved in the stones of his prison. In the mountains of the Rift sits Arkenthams, a Dwemer ruin introduced in the Dawnguard expansion. Its collapsed halls contain tonal resonators that form the basis of a unique puzzle, requiring players to strike them in sequence to progress. This design reflects the Dwemer's mastery of tonal architecture, a science blending sound and structure. The ruin is also the beginning of the Ethereum questline, tying it to one of the most mysterious substances in the Elder Scrolls universe. Arkhangthams is not only a dungeon, but also a gateway into deeper lore about Dwemer ambition. The Ethereum Forge, hidden in the depths of the mountains, serves as the culmination of that questline. Accessible only after collecting shards from multiple Dwemer ruins, the forge allows the creation of unique artifacts powered by Ethereum. Its design, with molten rivers and massive machinery, reflects the industrial genius of the Dwemer. The existence of the forge shows how their society reached beyond conventional metallurgy, experimenting with materials infused with magical energy. It is one of Skyrim's most hidden and rewarding discoveries, requiring persistence to uncover. In Solstheim, introduced through the Dragonborn expansion, lies the Barrow of Kolbjorn, a ruin initially buried under ash. Through a series of excavations funded by the player, the barrow is slowly unearthed, revealing the dragon priest Azadal. His name means the embittered destroyer, and his mask reflects his mastery of fire. The gradual excavation of Kolbjorn is unusual in Skyrim, as the dungeon evolves over time, showing the process of archaeology within the game itself. It reinforces the idea that Tamriel's history is buried not just in books, but in the earth itself. Also in Solstheim stands Falbtarts, a sprawling Dwemer ruin filled with traps and rotating bridges. Its layout emphasizes verticality and mechanical complexity, reflecting the Dwemer's obsession with precision. One of its most striking features is a chamber filled with tonal resonators, requiring the player to manipulate sound and machinery to proceed. The ruin demonstrates how Dwemer sites were designed not only as living spaces, but also as puzzles in stone and brass, testing both intelligence and strength. The island also houses the Temple of Miraak, central to the Dragonborn expansion. Built by followers of the first Dragonborn, its architecture mixes Nord stonework with Daedric influence, reflecting Miraak's corruption by Hermaeus Mora. The temple is filled with enthralled cultists and grotesque statues, and its tunnels lead to black books that connect directly to Apocrypha. The design of the temple shows the extent of Miraak's domination, a fusion of mortal ambition and Daedric knowledge that predates the Dragonborn's own rise. Finally, on Solstheim's north coast lies the Waterstone, one of the Allmaker stones corrupted by Miraak. When cleansed, it releases villagers from their trance, restoring balance to the island. The stone connects Solstheim to the traditions of the Skald, a people whose culture emphasizes harmony with nature. Its corruption and cleansing represent the larger battle between Miraak's domination and the Skald's faith. The Waterstone, like the other sacred stones, shows that Skyrim's influence extends beyond its borders, shaping and threatening even the distant islands. These 8 sites, Highgate Ruins, Ragnvald, Arkhangthams, the Ethereum Forge, Kolbjorn Barrow, Falbtarts, the Temple of Miraak, and the Waterstone, deepen Skyrim's tapestry of history. Each location ties the present to ancient powers, whether through dragon priests, Dwemer machines, or Daedric corruption. Together, they remind the player that Skyrim's story is not only about the Dragonborn's journey, but also about the countless civilizations and cults that left their mark on the land. Skyrim's history is layered with mysteries that reach far beyond the Dragonborn. Some are whispered in ancient ruins, while others are carved into weapons, scrolls, or fragments of forgotten lore. These elements expand the sense that Skyrim is not a self-contained province, but part of a much larger mythos, with stories that stretch back to the dawn of Tamriel. One of the most enigmatic artifacts is the Black Star, a corrupted version of Azura's star. Where Azura's artifact was once a vessel of purity, capable of housing the souls of creatures, the Black Star has been twisted to capture the souls of men. Nelacar, a rogue mage from the College of Winterhold, offers to transform the star for those who side with him, creating a moral split between loyalty to Azura and personal ambition. What makes the Black Star obscure is not only its unique function as a reusable soul gem, but also the implications of using human souls for power, a forbidden practice that reflects the darker corners of Skyrim's morality. Equally steeped in contradiction is the Staff of Magnus, tied to the questline of the College of Winterhold. Magnus is considered the god of magic, a being who withdrew from the mortal world during its creation, leaving fragments of his essence behind. The staff is one such fragment, a tool of immeasurable power. It plays a central role in the eye of Magnus' quest, but the artifact itself remains shrouded in mystery. Its ability to drain magicka and life suggests a direct connection to creation itself, yet its origins are left deliberately vague. This ambiguity has fueled debates among Elder Scrolls scholars for decades, making it one of the most fascinating artifacts in the series. Another legendary object tied to Skyrim is Auriel's bow, introduced in the Dawnguard expansion. Auriel, known as Akatosh in the Imperial Pantheon, is revered as the chief deity of the elves. His bow carries divine power, capable of blotting out the sun when used with special blood-cursed arrows. This ability connects the bow not only to combat but to cosmology, altering the cycle of day and night itself. The bow's role in the Dawnguard storyline also reflects the tension between light and darkness, faith and corruption, embodied by the struggle against Lord Harkon and his vampire clan. Auriel's bow is more than a weapon, it is a statement of divine authority woven into the fabric of Skyrim's skies. Another obscure but powerful item is the Ogma Infinium, a Daedric artifact linked to Hermaeus Mora, the Prince of Knowledge. This book grants permanent increases to skills depending on the path chosen by the reader. What makes it truly eerie is its physical appearance, a tome bound in grotesque textures, filled with unreadable script. Its presence reinforces Mora's nature as both a giver and hoarder of knowledge, a being whose gifts always carry a cost. Reading the Ogma Infinium feels like peering into forbidden wisdom, and the fact that it disappears afterward suggests that mortals were never meant to hold such knowledge permanently. Beyond artifacts, Skyrim hides entire traditions preserved only in fragments. The Elder Scrolls themselves are perhaps the most mysterious objects in Tamriel, tied directly to prophecy and time itself. Skyrim features multiple scrolls, including the one required to access the Time Wound during the main quest. The scrolls are described as neither written nor read in any conventional sense. Instead, they exist outside time, and those who gaze upon them risk blindness or madness. Their obscurity lies in their paradoxical nature. They are simultaneously artifacts and events, fixed and yet shifting. Their role in Skyrim emphasizes the game's themes of destiny, reminding players that their journey is part of a cycle written before time itself. Equally obscure is the Skeleton Key, a Daedric artifact tied to Nocturnal, the Mistress of Shadows. Unlike other artifacts, the Skeleton Key is not meant to be kept but returned to the Twilight Sepulchre. Its ability to unlock anything tempts players to hold on to it indefinitely, bending the rules of the game. Yet lore reveals that keeping the key disrupts the balance of the Thieves' Guild, preventing the return of luck to its followers. The Skeleton Key's significance lies not just in its utility, but in its symbolism. It represents choice, temptation, and the eternal tug-of-war between personal gain and collective survival. In Soulstime, the Black Books serve as portals to Apocrypha, the realm of Hermaeus Mora. Each book transports the reader into a shifting, ink-stained landscape filled with writhing tentacles, impossible libraries, and creatures of shadow. Within these realms, the Dragonborn gains forbidden powers, at the cost of exposure to Mora's influence. The Black Books are more than simple quests. They are immersive experiences that highlight Skyrim's ability to blend horror with high fantasy. Their obscurity lies in their function as both lore and gameplay, revealing the reach of Daedric power even beyond Skyrim's borders. Finally, one of the most obscure elements of Skyrim's world lies in the Elder Knowledge quest, which connects the Dragonborn to the Elder Scrolls themselves. The quest requires entering Blackreach to retrieve the scroll, weaving together Dwemer history, dragon lore, and cosmic prophecy in a single thread. By forcing players to traverse one of Skyrim's largest and strangest dungeons, the game reinforces the idea that knowledge is always buried deep, guarded by machines and monsters, and accessible only through persistence. Together, these artifacts and traditions, Azura's Black Star, the Staff of Magnus, Auriel's Bow, the Ogma Infinium, the Elder Scrolls, the Skeleton Key, the Black Books, and the Elder Knowledge quest, form the backbone of Skyrim's mythic weight. They tie the land not only to the struggles of Nords and dragons, but to gods, Daedra, and forces beyond comprehension. Each carries an aura of danger and divinity, reminding players that Skyrim is not simply a land of snow and stone, but a crossroads where mortals touch the eternal. Skyrim's mythos extends not only through artifacts and ruins, but also through the beings that inhabit its highest mountains, darkest caves, and most forgotten corners. Some of these entities are tied to prophecy, others to punishment, and many exist only as echoes of past ages. Together, they deepen the sense that Skyrim is a world where the boundary between legend and reality has thinned. One of the most fascinating beings encountered in Skyrim is Karstag, a frost giant whose legend originates from the island of Solstheim. In the Dragonborn expansion, players can summon Karstag by placing his skull upon his throne, unleashing one of the most difficult battles in the game. Karstag towers over the Dragonborn, wielding frost powers that can overwhelm even seasoned adventurers. What makes him obscure is that defeating him grants the unique ability to summon his ghostly form 3 times in battle, a reward that connects directly to his lingering spirit. Karstag embodies Skyrim's recurring theme, that ancient beings never truly die but continue to haunt the land. The Reaper, found only in the Soul Cairn during the Dawnguard expansion, is another hidden entity. To summon this skeletal figure, players must gather 3 Reaper gem fragments and place them on his altar. The battle itself is brief but eerie, fought in the desolate void of the Soul Cairn. The Reaper drops no unique loot, leaving his presence almost symbolic, a reminder that even in Death's domain, there are lords of power who command respect. The obscurity lies in how easily this encounter can be missed, since the fragments are scattered and the game provides no hints. In the depths of Dwemer ruins and Falmer-infested caverns, players may stumble upon the Chorus hunters, grotesque insectoid creatures that evolve from Chorus once they mature. These flying predators spit poison and descend with terrifying speed, making them more dangerous than their larval forms. Their biology ties into Falmer lore, as the blind elves raise and worship the Chorus like cattle and war beasts. The hunter's existence highlights the ecosystem beneath Skyrim, a world where survival has birthed horrifying adaptations that most surface dwellers never witness. Another obscure being is the Wisp Mother, an ethereal enemy often encountered in snowy wilderness or frozen ruins. Wisp Mothers summon spectral clones and wisp allies, overwhelming players with illusions and frost magic. Their lore is mysterious, with hints suggesting they may be the remnants of powerful sorceresses or cursed spirits tied to Skyrim's icy landscapes. The obscurity of Wisp Mothers lies in their rarity. Many players complete the game without encountering one, leaving their haunting design as a secret reserved for explorers of the wilderness. The Headless Horseman is one of Skyrim's most striking apparitions. Appearing only at night, he rides across the tundra of Whiterun Hold, wielding a ghostly axe. If followed, he leads players to Hamvir's Rest, a Nordic tomb filled with restless dead. The horseman cannot be harmed, nor does he speak, reinforcing his nature as a spectral guide. This encounter is never tied to a quest, making it one of the most purely atmospheric details in the game. His presence reflects Skyrim's emphasis on folklore brought to life, a ghost story roaming the plains. Equally enigmatic are the Dragon Priests, ancient servants of the dragons entombed across Skyrim. Each priest wears a powerful mask imbued with unique enchantments, ranging from Morokei's magicka regeneration to Crosus's archery boosts. Collecting all the masks leads to the shrine at Labyrinthian, where the wooden mask allows access to the final mask, Connahric. This mask possesses the rare ability to heal its wearer and summon a spectral dragon priest in combat. The Dragon Priests represent the fusion of history, religion, and gameplay. They embody the fanaticism of the dragon cult and the enduring influence of the ancient dragon wars. Among Skyrim's strangest beings are the giants, who roam the tundras alongside mammoths. Though not hidden, their lore is obscure. Giants are semi-nomadic, living in camps marked by massive bonfires and adorned with mammoth skulls. Their culture is never explained directly, but environmental details suggest rituals, hierarchies, and even art carved into stone. What makes them obscure is their behavior. They do not attack unless provoked, implying a society more peaceful than hostile, despite their immense strength. Giants remind players that not every towering creature is an enemy. Some are simply surviving in their own traditions. Finally, the Spriggans add a layer of myth to Skyrim's wilderness. These glowing tree-like spirits guard sacred groves and animal dens, lashing out with nature-based magic. They can summon animals, heal themselves, and vanish into invisibility, making them formidable. Spriggans are tied to Kine, goddess of nature, suggesting they may be divine guardians of the wild. Their obscurity lies in their rarity and the fact that many players see them only as hostile foes, missing the deeper implication that they are protectors of the natural order resisting encroachment. These 8 entities, Karstog, the Reaper, Chorus Hunters, Wisp Mothers, the Headless Horsemen, Dragon Priests, Giants, and Spriggans, show how Skyrim's world thrives on mythic encounters. Some are battles of survival, others fleeting apparitions, but all of them reinforce the sense that Skyrim is a land haunted by legend. Whether frozen giants, spectral riders, or spirits of the wild, these beings blur the line between history and folklore, reminding players that every corner of Skyrim hides something waiting to be uncovered. Skyrim's power lies not only in its artifacts and legendary beings, but also in its landscapes, where geography itself becomes myth. The province is a vast mosaic of holds, each with hidden corners, environmental mysteries, and natural wonders that carry their own obscure details. These locations add texture to the world, transforming it from a game map into a living land steeped in legend. One of the most striking features of Skyrim is the Throat of the World, the tallest mountain in Tamriel. At its summit lies High Hrothgar, home to the Greybeards, but the mountain itself holds secrets. Near the peak rests the Time Wound, where Alduin was cast forward into the future by the Elder Scroll. The air grows thin, and the land is scarred by the lingering effects of this ancient act. Buried ruins dot its slopes, and even the weather seems harsher here, as though the mountain remembers the battles of gods and mortals. The Throat of the World is more than a landmark. It is a living monument to Skyrim's destiny. The Reach, a rugged region dominated by jagged cliffs and valleys, hides some of the most haunting tales in Skyrim. The Forsworn, descendants of the Reachmen who resisted Nord conquest, dwell in its caves and fortresses. Their presence ties the land to a history of rebellion, but the terrain itself reflects their struggle. Red Eagle's tomb, for example, commemorates a hero of the Reach who rose against Nord invaders, wielding a cursed blade that glows with his fury. The ruins scattered across the Reach tell this story silently, carved into the rocks and preserved in blood-stained altars. For those who linger, the Reach becomes a chronicle of resistance. In contrast, the Pale is a land of endless snowdrifts, haunted by wolves and frost trolls. Its capital, Dawnstar, suffers from nightmares inflicted by the Daedric prince Vermina. Yet the Hold's obscurity lies in its mines. Iron and quicksilver veins lie close to the surface, making the Pale an economic prize. Ancient barrows in the area hint at deeper histories, with Draugr guarding forgotten kings. The bleakness of the Pale mirrors its name, a region of survival where wealth and horror sit side by side beneath the snow. The Rift, lush with autumn forests and golden leaves, seems more hospitable, but it conceals corruption at its heart. Riften, with its canals and sewers, serves as the base for the Thieves' Guild, while the surrounding woods are stalked by bandits and Spriggans. The Rift is also home to the Blackbriar family, whose grip on trade and politics poisons the land. Beneath the beauty of its forests lies a web of greed and shadow. The Rift's obscurity lies in this duality, a place that dazzles with color, yet harbors some of Skyrim's darkest dealings. The volcanic tundra near Eastmarch adds another layer of natural strangeness. Steam vents hiss across barren fields, and hot springs provide a rare refuge for hunters and wildlife. Mammoths graze here, and saber cats stalk the edges of the mist. Ancient standing stones, such as the Atronach stone, rise out of the tundra, hinting at magical significance. The region's volcanic nature also ties to lore, with legends suggesting that the land is scarred by battles between gods and giants in ages past. Unlike snowy mountains or lush forests, the volcanic tundra feels otherworldly, a reminder that Skyrim's land itself is a battlefield of creation. In the marshes of Hjalmarch, strange fires flicker across the swamps. These are wisps, ethereal lights tied to the Wisp Mothers. The capital, Morthal, is a place of suspicion and sorrow, where residents whisper of witches and spirits. Obscure details and dialogue suggest that Yalmarch has long been plagued by supernatural forces, its lowlands serving as a gathering place for the restless dead. The presence of the marshes reinforces the theme that some lands are shaped as much by myth as by weather. The Sea of Ghosts, Skyrim's northern coast, adds yet another layer of mystery. Shipwrecks dot the icy waters, and rumors abound of sea serpents and spirits haunting the waves. The College of Winterhold once relied on this sea for trade, but after the Great Collapse, most of its docks vanished into the water. Diving into the wrecks reveals journals, treasure, and sometimes draugr, suggesting that the sea swallows not only ships, but also their histories. The Sea of Ghosts is both a graveyard and a treasure trove, hiding its secrets beneath frozen waves. Finally, the Forgotten Vale, introduced in Dawnguard, is one of Skyrim's most breathtaking hidden regions. Accessible only through a lengthy quest, the Vale is a massive glacial valley filled with frozen waterfalls, ancient temples, and snow elf ruins. Here, the player encounters the last pure descendants of the snow elves, as well as Oriel's chapel. The Vale is obscured by isolation, locked away from the rest of Skyrim, and it feels like stepping into a preserved fragment of another age. Its beauty and tragedy embody Skyrim's central theme, that beneath every ruin lies a story waiting to be remembered. These 8 locations, the Throat of the World, the Reach, the Pale, the Rift, the volcanic tundra, Yalmarch's swamps, the Sea of Ghosts, and the Forgotten Vale, reveal how Skyrim's geography itself becomes a character. Each landform is infused with myth, rebellion, or tragedy, ensuring that exploration is never just travel, but an act of uncovering history. Skyrim's landscapes are more than scenery. They are living myths carved into mountains, swamps, and valleys. Each region carries hidden details, obscure histories, and natural wonders that transform the province into a tapestry of legends. To walk across Skyrim is to uncover a land that remembers every conquest, every tragedy, and every whisper of the gods. At the center of it all rises the Throat of the World, the tallest mountain in Tamriel. High Hrothgar clings to its slopes, where the Greybeards devote themselves to the way of the voice, but the mountain holds far more than their monastery. Near its summit lies the scar of the Time Wound, where ancient Nords hurled Alduin into the future with the power of the Elder Scroll. The air is thin, the winds howl louder than anywhere else, and ruins cling to ledges as though refusing to fall. The Throat of the World is not simply geography. It is a monument to destiny, bearing the marks of battles fought between mortals and gods. To the west lies the harsh expanse of the Reach, a land of jagged cliffs and crimson leaves. The Forsworn call it home, heirs of the Reachmen who resisted Nord conquest. Their camps are adorned with bloody altars and crude totems, echoing a defiance that has lasted for centuries. One of the Reach's most haunting sights is Red Eagle's tomb, where a hero of the Forsworn was buried with his cursed sword. When disturbed, his spirit rises in fury, showing that the Reach itself still bleeds from wounds inflicted in the distant past. Every ruined tower and hidden cave here whispers rebellion, making the Reach a living chronicle of resistance. Far to the north lies the Pale, where snowstorms swallow the land in silence. Its capital, Dawnstar, suffers under nightmares sent by the Daedric prince Vermina, but the land's obscurity lies deeper. The mines of the Pale produce iron and quicksilver, fueling Skyrim's economy, while ancient barrows dot the snowy tundra, guarded by draugr kings. Survival here is relentless. Wolves stalk the frozen plains, frost trolls claim caves, and blizzards erase paths within minutes. The Pale embodies hardship, a hold where both wealth and horror are buried beneath the snow. The Rift, with its golden forests and glowing meadows, offers a striking contrast, yet beneath its autumn beauty lies corruption. Riften, its capital, is dominated by the Blackbriar family, whose influence reaches from trade to politics. Beneath the streets, the Thieves' Guild festers, clinging to shadows until restored by the Dragonborn. Even the Rift's wilderness carries contradictions. Spriggans guard sacred groves, while bandits prey upon travelers. The Rift is a place of duality, vivid and alive on the surface, but rotten at its core, where every tree conceals whispers of betrayal. To the east spreads the volcanic tundra of Eastmarch, a landscape unlike any other in Skyrim. Steam vents hiss across barren soil, while hot springs give refuge to hunters, animals, and wandering giants. Mammoths graze among the mist, and saber cats lurk at the edges. The tundra is dotted with ancient stones, such as the Atronach stone, suggesting that the land holds mystical significance. Legends claim the volcanic earth was scarred by battles between gods and titans, leaving behind a landscape of fire and ash. Few places in Skyrim feel so alien, a reminder that even the ground carries memory. In the marshes of Hjalmarch, the land itself seems bewitched. Morthal, the Hold's capital, is a place of suspicion and sorrow, its residents whispering of spirits in the swamps. Flickering lights appear at night, wisps that lure travelers into danger, often near the lairs of Wisp-mothers. Dialogue from locals hints that the Hold has always been plagued by supernatural forces, a liminal space between the world of the living and the realm of the dead. The swamps of Hjalmarch are a reminder that not every danger in Skyrim carries a sword. Sometimes it comes as a whisper in the mist. Beyond the northern cliffs stretches the Sea of Ghosts, a frozen expanse filled with wrecks and legends. Waves crash against icy rocks, swallowing ships whole. Exploring the coastline reveals journals, skeletons, and Draugr clinging to their vessels, as if even death cannot keep them from their voyage. The College of Winterhold once relied on this sea for trade, but much of its docks were lost in the Great Collapse, leaving wreckage scattered across the waves. The Sea of Ghosts is both a graveyard and a library, hiding stories in every drowned hull. Hidden beyond Skyrim's mountains lies the Forgotten Vale, introduced in the Dawnguard expansion. It is one of the largest secret regions in the game, a sprawling glacial valley of frozen waterfalls, ice bridges, and snow elf ruins. Here, players encounter the last of the pure snow elves, guardians of Oriel's chapel, whose survival contrasts with the corrupted Falmer. The Vale feels untouched, a sanctuary locked away from time. Its beauty and sorrow capture Skyrim's essence. Every paradise is shadowed by tragedy. Every ruin tells of a people who refuse to be forgotten. These 8 regions, the throat of the world, the Reach, the Pale, the Rift, the volcanic tundra, Hjalmarch's swamps, the Sea of Ghosts, and the Forgotten Vale, show that Skyrim's land is not mere backdrop. Each is a character in itself, shaped by rebellion, sorrow, magic, and myth. To wander them is to walk through history carved in stone, snow, and ash. Beyond its mountains, ruins, and artifacts, Skyrim is defined by the people who inhabit it. From powerful jarls to wandering hermits, each carries stories that add depth to the land. Many of these figures are obscure, appearing briefly or hidden in corners of the map, yet their lives reflect the province's struggles and traditions. Among Skyrim's most influential figures is Ulfric Stormcloak, the Jarl of Windhelm and leader of the rebellion. While many see him as a patriot fighting for Nord freedom, others view him as a tyrant whose ambition fractures the land. What makes Ulfric particularly obscure are the details tied to his past. He trained with the Greybeards at High Hrothgar but abandoned their peaceful teachings to wield the Thuum as a weapon. His duel with High King Torrig, won with the unrelenting Force Shout, remains one of the most controversial events in Skyrim's history. Ulfric embodies both Nord pride and the dangers of unchecked ambition. Opposing him is General Tullius, the imperial commander stationed in Solitude. Tullius is pragmatic, believing Skyrim cannot survive without the Empire's strength against the Aldmeri Dominion. Unlike most Jarls or generals, he is an outsider, not native to Skyrim, and this fuels the distrust Nords feel toward him. Yet his loyalty to order and survival reflects the Empire's perspective, unity at the cost of tradition. His presence highlights Skyrim's central tension, where loyalty to culture clashes with the need for survival against greater threats. Another figure who carries immense weight is Balgruuf the Greater, Jarl of Whiterun. Neutral at the start of the Civil War, Balgruuf embodies moderation in a time of extremes. His city lies at Skyrim's crossroads, and his decision to side with either faction tilts the balance of the war. Yet Balgruuf is also tied to dragon lore. He provides the Dragonborn with Dragon's Reach, the palace designed to hold a dragon in ancient times. His pragmatism, combined with his symbolic role, makes him one of Skyrim's most quietly important leaders. Outside the sphere of politics, the enigmatic Paarthurnax rests atop the throat of the world. A dragon who once served Alduin, Paarthurnax betrayed his master and taught mortals the way of the voice. Yet he remains burdened by his nature, admitting his instincts drive him toward domination. His philosophical struggle, whether one can truly change what they are, adds profound depth to the story. The Blades demand his death, arguing that he will never escape his nature, while the Greybeards plead for mercy. This moral conflict is one of Skyrim's most obscure but impactful moments, forcing the Dragonborn to choose between vengeance and redemption. Another obscure but vital character is Septimus Cygnus, a scholar who dwells in an icy cave north of Winterhold. His obsession with Dwemer knowledge drives him to madness, leading him to open an Elder Scroll hidden within a Dwemer lockbox. Through him, players encounter Hermaeus Mora, the Daedric Prince of Knowledge, who ultimately claims Septimus's soul. His tale is a tragic reflection of the dangers of forbidden wisdom, showing how obsession with knowledge can consume even the greatest minds. Skyrim also hides figures who bridge myth and mortality. Ysgramor, though long dead, remains central to Nord culture. Statues and songs celebrate his conquest of Skyrim from the elves, and the companions trace their lineage to him. Visiting Ysgramor's tomb, the Dragonborn aids in cleansing it of spectral invaders, reinforcing his enduring presence. While Ysgramor never appears alive, his legacy shapes Nord identity, making him one of the most influential characters despite existing only as memory. Among the most tragic figures is Kodlak Whitemane, harbinger of the Companions. Kodlak is a warrior bound by lycanthropy, yet unlike his peers, he longs for release from the curse so he may reach Sovngarde. His death during the Companions' questline sparks the purification of the Order, allowing the Dragonborn to honor his wish. Kodlak's struggle reflects the duality of strength and curse that defines the Companions, reminding players that even heroes carry burdens they cannot easily cast aside. Finally, Skyrim introduces Serana, one of the most beloved companions in the series, tied to the Dawnguard expansion. A vampire daughter of Lord Harkon, Serana is trapped between loyalty to her family and the hope for freedom. Her wit, depth, and tragic backstory elevate her beyond a simple ally. Through her, players see the humanity hidden within vampirism, and her survival ensures that Skyrim's story carries forward even after Dawnguard's conclusion. These 8 figures, Ulfric, Tullius, Balgruuf, Paarthurnax, Septimus Cygnus, Ysgramor, Kodlak, and Serana, embody the complexity of Skyrim. Some wield armies, others whisper philosophy, and some linger only as memories, yet each shapes the land in ways both subtle and profound. Together, they remind us that Skyrim's true heart lies not only in its dragons or ruins, but in the people who fight, dream, and suffer within its borders. Skyrim's world is filled not only with rulers and warriors, but also with countless side characters who leave quiet marks on the land. Many of these figures never take center stage, yet their stories reveal the depth of the province's culture and tragedies. By paying attention to their lives, one uncovers another layer of Skyrim's obscurity. One such figure is Cicero, the mad jester of the Dark Brotherhood. His eccentricity hides a grim devotion. He is the keeper of the Night Mother, guarding her coffin and carrying her across Skyrim. His journals, scattered throughout the Brotherhood questline, reveal his paranoia and loneliness. What makes Cicero fascinating is that his survival depends entirely on the Dragonborn's choice. He can be spared, remaining as a follower, or executed, ending his madness in blood. His fate reflects the Brotherhood's descent into chaos, where devotion and insanity blur together. Another obscure presence is Barbas, the talking dog tied to the Daedric prince Clavicus Vile. At first appearing as a stray, Barbas leads the Dragonborn on a quest that unveils his true nature as Vile's companion and emissary. The choice at the quest's end, return Barbas to his master for the rueful axe or let him remain free, illustrates Skyrim's recurring theme of loyalty and betrayal. Barbas is more than comic relief. He is a reflection of the Daedric bargain, where every gift carries a hidden cost. The wandering monk, Mike the Liar, offers another layer of obscurity. Found roaming Skyrim's roads, Mike speaks in cryptic phrases that often reference mechanics or rumors from previous Elder Scrolls games. He dismisses dragons, jokes about swimming, and hints at cut content such as spears or crossbows. Mike's presence is a long-running tradition in the series, but in Skyrim, his lines are particularly playful, blurring the line between character and developer commentary. He serves as both Easter egg and cultural thread connecting generations of Elder Scrolls lore. In the city of Riften, the beggar Brynjolf, no, not Brynjolf of the Thieves' Guild, but the Forgotten Poor, speaks of a life spent in hardship. Skyrim's streets are full of such nameless figures, whose dialogue often reveals more about the province than its rulers. In Riften, beggars speak of corruption, famine, and the cruelty of the Blackbriar family. While they rarely influence quests, their words create an atmosphere of decay, making the city feel alive with whispered despair. One of Skyrim's most touching side stories is tied to Narfi, a beggar in Ivarstead. Narfi is mentally broken after the disappearance of his sister, Rada. If the Dragonborn investigates, they discover Rada's necklace in the river, implying she drowned. Narfi never receives closure. He continues to wander the village, muttering about her return. This quiet tragedy carries no grand quest rewards, but it adds human weight to Skyrim's world. Narfi represents the forgotten victims, those whose suffering is ignored by kings and jarls alike. The bard Sven in Riverwood offers another glimpse into local life. His petty rivalry with Faendal over the affection of Camilla Valerius can be resolved in favor of either suitor. While humorous, this small quest reveals much about Skyrim's culture. Even in a land of dragons, jealousy and love triangles persist. These intimate stories remind players that Skyrim's people are not just quest givers but individuals with flaws, ambitions, and passions. Equally obscure is The Lusty Argonian Maid, a book scattered throughout Skyrim. Presented as a comedic play, it tells the suggestive tale of an Argonian servant and her master. Beyond its humor, the text is a long-running series tradition, appearing in multiple Elder Scrolls games. Its presence in Skyrim highlights the developer's attention to continuity, embedding even satire into the province's cultural tapestry. For players who pause to read it, the book adds levity amidst darker themes. Lastly, there is Lars Battleborn, a child in Whiterun bullied by his peers. Though his role seems minor, speaking to him uncovers the rivalry between the Battleborn and Greymane families, two clans locked in a feud over the Civil War. Lars's suffering is a microcosm of the larger conflict, showing how political divides fracture even childhood friendships. It is a subtle reminder that war's consequences reach every level of society. These 8 figures, Cicero, Barbas, Mike, the beggars, Narfi, Sven, the lusty Argonian maid, and Lars, may not command armies or wield legendary weapons, but their presence fills Skyrim with texture. They embody humor, tragedy, satire, and suffering, reminding players that the province is alive, not just because of dragons or Daedric princes, but because of the countless small stories unfolding in every village and road. As Skyrim's myths unfold through rulers, warriors, and wandering figures, its secrets also lie in the hidden systems and overlooked mechanics that shape the experience of the Dragonborn. These details are often obscure, discovered only by curious players who test boundaries or read between the lines of the game's design. One of the most curious features is the Radiant AI system, first introduced in Oblivion and expanded in Skyrim. Non-playable characters live with daily routines, sleeping, eating, and working, independent of the player. Obscure interactions occur when these systems collide. Shopkeepers close early to attend feasts, hunters skin animals in the wild, and thieves may attempt to steal goods in plain sight. This sense of autonomy creates emergent stories, moments that are not scripted but generated by the AI. Many players never see the full extent of Radiant AI, but it is the invisible machinery that makes Skyrim feel alive. Equally obscure is the Radiant story system, which generates quests tailored to the player's progress. A dungeon left unexplored might suddenly host a kidnapped villager, while a random courier delivers a letter that sparks a new adventure. The system ensures that Skyrim never fully runs out of stories. While many dismiss Radiant quests as repetitive, the design itself was groundbreaking, embedding the sense that the world reacts to the Dragonborn's journey. This blend of randomness and structure is one of Skyrim's most innovative features. Another hidden layer lies in skill perks and mechanics that reveal unusual synergies. For example, investing in the impact perk for destruction magic allows dual cast spells to stagger enemies indefinitely, creating an almost unfair advantage. Similarly, combining alchemy, enchanting, and smithing can lead to game-breaking loops of power, producing weapons and armor that surpass legendary limits. These mechanics are rarely explained in-game, leaving only dedicated players to uncover them. Their obscurity reinforces Skyrim's design philosophy. Mastery comes from experimentation, not instruction. The shout system, rooted in dragon language, also hides secrets. While most players discover iconic shouts like Unrelenting Force or Fire Breath, others are far rarer. The Clear Skies shout, used to dispel storms on the throat of the world, can also be used in regular gameplay to change weather conditions. The Throw Voice shout, seemingly a joke, can distract enemies and create opportunities for stealth. Even the Bend Will shout from the Dragonborn expansion carries surprising power, allowing control over dragons themselves. These obscure uses elevate shouts beyond combat tools into versatile expressions of the Dragonborn's power. Another layer of mystery lies in standing stones, scattered across Skyrim as remnants of ancient magic. While many players stick with the warrior, mage, or thief stones, others hide more obscure abilities. The Atronach stone grants spell absorption at the cost of magicka regeneration, reflecting older Elder Scrolls birth sign mechanics. The Lover stone, by contrast, provides universal skill growth. These stones tie Skyrim to Tamriel's constellations, embedding cosmic influence into character progression. Few players realize that their effects mirror astrological traditions found throughout the series. Obscure details also appear in books and journals. Skyrim holds over 800 readable texts, ranging from histories of past emperors to recipes and children's tales. Some books unlock skill points, others trigger quests, and a few hide darker truths. The legend of Red Eagle, for instance, leads directly to a quest in the Reach. The lusty Argonian maid, while humorous, reflects Tamriel's taste for satire. Many players ignore bookshelves, yet these texts carry as much lore as the ruins and dungeons, preserving Tamriel's cultural memory. Skyrim's mechanics also encourage player-driven myths. The belief that foxes guide players to treasure, though unconfirmed by developers, has become one of the game's enduring legends. Stories like this show how obscurity creates folklore within the community. Players share discoveries, half-truths, and superstitions that become part of the Skyrim experience, blurring the line between coded design and cultural imagination. Finally, Skyrim's random encounters deserve mention. Bandits may ambush travelers on the road, a wandering bard may appear in the wilderness, or a fugitive may offer stolen goods before being chased by guards. These encounters are generated dynamically, ensuring no two journeys are identical. Some are comedic, others tragic, and many go unnoticed by players focused on quests. Together, they create the sense that Skyrim's world exists beyond the Dragonborn, continuing its rhythms whether or not the player is watching. These 8 layers, Radiant AI, Radiant Story, perk synergies, shouts, standing stones, books, player myths, and random encounters, show that Skyrim's depth is not only in its scripted quests, but in the hidden systems that shape the journey. They are the invisible threads of design and folklore that turn exploration into discovery, ensuring that every path through Skyrim feels uniquely alive. Skyrim's legacy stretches far beyond its frozen mountains and ancient tombs. What keeps the game alive more than a decade after its release is not only its lore, but the countless ways players continue to rediscover it. From hidden mechanics to cultural impact, these final details complete the mosaic of Skyrim's enduring myth. One of the most fascinating aspects is the modding community, which transformed Skyrim into a living platform. Mods fix bugs, overhaul graphics, and expand quests, but they also create entire new worlds. Projects like Enderal turned Skyrim's engine into a completely different game, while countless smaller mods added companions, homes, or even humorous oddities, like Thomas the Tank Engine replacing dragons. This creativity ensures that Skyrim is never static, always evolving with the imagination of its players. Another layer of longevity comes from memes and cultural echoes. Phrases like, "I used to be an adventurer like you, then I took an arrow in the knee," spread far beyond gaming, becoming part of internet culture. The opening cart ride to Helgen became a meme recognized even by those who never played. Skyrim is more than a role-playing game. It is a shared language of jokes, nostalgia, and references that connect millions of players worldwide. The game's soundtrack, composed by Jeremy Soule, remains one of its greatest triumphs. Dragonborn, with its thunderous choir chanting in the dragon language, became instantly iconic. Lesser-known tracks, like the quiet town themes or exploration music, create moods of solitude and wonder. Many players still listen to Skyrim's music outside the game, proof of how deeply it resonates. The soundtrack is not just background noise, it is part of why Skyrim feels timeless. Skyrim also thrives on its Easter eggs and secrets, from the Headless Horseman roaming at night to the ghost of Katria guiding players in Lost to the Ages. The game is filled with hidden touches that reward curiosity. Some references even break the fourth wall, like books nodding to past Elder Scrolls titles. These obscure moments turn exploration into discovery, ensuring that even veteran players stumble upon something new. Equally important is Skyrim's role as a cultural landmark in gaming history. Released on November 11th, 2011, its launch became an event. Players lined up outside stores, and within days, millions had stepped into Tamriel. Even after technical issues and countless re-releases, the game remains one of the most played and modded RPGs of all time. Skyrim is no longer just a single-player adventure, it is a collective experience shared by generations of gamers. Finally, Skyrim endures because of its mythic quality. Dragons, Nords, Daedric princes, civil war, and lost civilizations. Every element feels like part of a larger legend. The Dragonborn is not only a hero, but a symbol of destiny, tied to cycles of destruction and rebirth. Whether through quests, books, or whispered NPC dialogue, Skyrim captures something timeless. The dream of a land where every cave, every ruin, and every mountaintop hides a story waiting to be uncovered. From the smallest beggar in Riften to the mightiest dragon soaring above the throat of the world, Skyrim is a world built of layers, secrets, and voices that continue to echo long after the game ends. If you enjoyed uncovering these 160 obscure facts about Skyrim, don't forget to subscribe, so you won't miss more deep dives into the hidden lore and secrets of legendary games. If you want more videos like this, subscribing helps bring them to life.